Jaylen Brown involved in these talks. Marcus Smart is an ass. That has prompted Jaylen Brown to tweet out some 11 minutes ago. What was it again there, Arcand? Just the 3 letters?
SMH, shaking my head.
Which is better than SMDH.
Oh, yeah, much better.
Yeah. If you go SMDH, well, I don't know. SMDH, if you're shaking your damn head, then you're kind of like dismissing it. But shaking my head, that's a little more sullen. You know, that seems almost, resigning yourself to something that's actually going on and being disgusted with it. But if you're shaking your damn head, then you're railing against it. I don't know if he's railing against this. I think he's seen the reports, he's hearing the reports, and he can't believe it. He's despondent.
Yeah.
Poor Jaylen Brown, he's not feeling good.
You shake your damn head when it's like funny and you're, sort of like laughing it off. He's not laughing this off. According to Shams, there was an offer made here. There was an actual offer made by the Celtics involving him, Derek White, a draft pick for Kevin Durant, and the Nets turned that down. Said they want, this is according to Shams, said they wanted Marcus Smart and along with Jaylen Brown and another rotation player, which is a lot to ask for. I don't think anybody else is offering anything close to Jaylen Brown, and it seems like Brooklyn's just trying to play hardball here. And if that's what they're doing, they've realized that the market for Durant isn't what they thought it was, and now they're going back, I think, to the Celtics, who have already made an offer. I don't know if they're going to continue with this, but now that the horse is out of the barn, I don't know how you sort of rectify it. I don't know how you bring Jaylen Brown back. It's sort of like the same thing that happened with Ray Allen. You remember his name came up in those it was a trade for like O.J. Mayo, I think, was the guy.
Yeah.
And once that happened, there was no coming back from it. I feel like you're there with Jaylen Brown now. And the only reason that you make that offer in the first place, too, is because Jaylen Brown's not coming back in 2 years. He doesn't want to stick around here for the next however long you have Jason Tatum signed for, and rather than lose him for nothing, you trade him for Kevin Durant. That makes sense to me. You don't want to get ripped off, but you don't want to lose him for nothing either. I think the Celtics know that if they don't do something, they're going to lose him for nothing. And that's the part of this that I think sucks the most, is that Jaylen Brown probably told them, I'm not sticking around here. The writing's kind of on the wall with Kanye West, and he was hanging out with Kyrie and all this other stuff. It's not, you'd have to be kind of purposefully trying to avoid it to miss these signs. But I think Brad Stevens read that writing and is now trying to act accordingly. And, if you can get Kevin Durant for Jaylen Brown, you do it. If it means, not losing him for nothing, that's a pretty good return.
We're a few weeks into this now. I think this is the 4th or 5th week since Durant said on June 30th that he requested the trade. So I think you're right, Arcand. I think the market is maybe different. I don't know if it's softer. It's just different than what they thought it would be. Maybe not the exact suitors, maybe not the exact teams. But if the Celtics are willing to offer up Jaylen Brown and more, in terms of picks and, Derek, even a player like Derek White, who has proved his value in a couple of different areas. I don't think it's necessarily soft if the Celtics were going that far, but now if the conversation includes Marcus Smart, that brings it up to a new level. So, McCarthy, the idea of having Kevin Durant on the Celtics, how does that sit with you just initially?
The overall idea with it? Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'd take Kevin Durant. Here's the thing. I don't think any of this is legitimate. I don't think the Celtics made this offer. I think the Nets are trying to drum up interest around the league, trying to get a little bit more, say, maybe out of Miami, maybe out of the other suitors, to try and to finally get a deal done for Kevin Durant. I mean, I think you guys have kind of hit around it, is that it's been a month since Kevin Durant asked out. And they haven't been able to get a deal done because, for whatever reason, the market is not shaping up the way that the Brooklyn Nets want it to. The Celtics have not been involved in any of this. Now, all of a sudden, we hear about the Celtics being involved now at this very late stage. I smell something fishy. I don't think this is legitimate. I don't think the Celtics are in on Durant. I think if they were in on Durant, wouldn't they have been in on him a month ago? Not to mention, too, Brad Stevens has operated very, very quietly. Now, all of a sudden, we're hearing about this. Now, all of a sudden, this gets out, and I get it takes two sides to, make a deal. It takes two sides to tango and all that, and maybe the Nets are leaking legitimate details, but I don't think any of this is legitimate. I don't think the Celtics are in on this. All of a sudden, you're hearing about it this morning after hearing a few weeks ago that they weren't interested. That's just my gut feeling. The Celtics are not interested in this, and this is the Nets trying to drum up the price around the league because they know Jaylen Brown floating that out there, they know that could potentially drum up the price for Kevin Kevin Durant. They're desperate to make a deal. They haven't been able to make a deal. I think they're using the Celtics to try and drum up interest around the league. I don't think this is legitimate interest from the Boston Celtics.
See, McCarthy, you sound a little like Greeny to me, man. That's Greeny talking right there. That's what I'm hearing.
It's you know what? And that's a terrifying thing. I can't believe I'm going full-blown green team or honk on this, but that's just my sense. Like, why haven't we heard about this? All I've heard up until this point is the Celtics really weren't interested. Now all of a sudden they're in with essentially is what their best offer would be, involving Jaylen Brown and, I mean, maybe Marcus. I mean, come on. None of this feels right to me. It just doesn't.
I think you're nuts to think that they wouldn't have been interested at all from the beginning. It's Kevin Durant. We're not talking about James Harden. We're not talking about getting Kyrie Irving back. We're talking about Kevin Durant. So, of course, they're interested, whether we heard about it or not. It's Kevin Durant, and he wants to be traded. Yes, you have to. You are. It's a dereliction of duty not to look into it from a Celtics standpoint. If you're Brad Stevens, of course you have to investigate it. I believe it. I truly do. And I think it's still very great. You can still be a green teamer and think, oh, well, they want Kevin Durant, and okay, Jaylen Brown, that's tough. But you can still have a green team mentality if you think that Marcus Smart is going to be the holdup in the deal. And if you don't want to part with Marcus, then yeah, fly your green team colors proudly. If you're hanging on to Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart, and you're not willing to part with Marcus in order to get Kevin Durant. But having said all that, do you think they should do it? And let's just take this report as it is, as fact, for our purposes here today. Okay, the Celtics offered up Marcus Smart, Derek White, draft picks, whatever, another player, and the Nets instead. No, we still want Jaylen, but we're also going to need. We're going to need Marcus Smart. So the Celtics are willing to part with Jaylen, some other players, not Marcus. Nets want Marcus. Do you do the deal?
Do I do the deal?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Arcand.
All right, I'll go first then. I'll go first. I do that deal if it means if I know I'm losing Jaylen Brown regardless. I don't think Marcus Smart, whoever it is, you got Malcolm Brogdon in here. I think you can move on from Marcus Smart. I don't think that's a great trade for the Celtics, but I do think they have to get something back for Jaylen Brown. They can't just let Brown leave in 2 years and not have a return for him. Now, Kevin Durant's a risky proposition. He's old. He's injured. He's had catastrophic injury problems in his career. Jaylen Brown's had a lot of injuries in his career too, and he's 25. So I don't know. I just think that Sean Marks, whatever the talk was here, and also I don't think Shams would have reported that trade, McCarthy, if he didn't get some kind of confirmation from the Boston side. I don't think you can go out and say that this offer was made, rejected, and then countered with only one side. I don't think he could have gone to print with that. I don't think that's enough information. So I do think that trade was offered, and I do think that Sean Marks is trying to play hardball here, and he's really playing hardball now because by releasing this offer, Hardy, you just touched on it, by releasing this offer now, Jaylen Brown knows they tried to trade me. And if they bring him back, they know that that's going to be a big chemistry problem there in Boston. You're past the point of no return now with Jaylen Brown. I think you have to trade him now.
I wouldn't do it.
So
I wouldn't
McCarthy,
do it.
you don't trade, and we can talk about the draft picks and we can talk about the other players, but this is what it comes down to. It's Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. So do you trade Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart for Kevin Durant?
The Marcus Smart thing doesn't concern me. Like, if you're trading Jaylen Brown, honestly, throw Marcus Smart in the deal. Like, I don't like that. That doesn't really concern me. It's the Brown thing. Like, and again, I hate to sound like the world's biggest green teamer here. This is not who I truly am. I feel almost disgusting giving this take. But I don't know. I kind of live the whole, like, let's build the super team experience. But yes, the idea of having Durant and Tatum on the same team is tantalizing. Is there any guarantee that it works? Really? Ask yourselves that. Is there any guarantee that it works? And I'm not saying that the Celtics have proven that it can totally work with Brown and Tatum. They did lose in the NBA Finals after all right? They didn't finish the job. I've seen enough to make myself believe that this thing with Brown and Tatum can work. And if you blow it up and you bring in Durant, there is no guarantee that he and Tatum find a way to get along. There's no guarantee that it works from a team perspective. So no, I don't do it, which is probably the craziest take I've ever given. It's Kevin freaking Durant, but that's honestly the way I feel about it.
The one hiccup in this, and we got to step aside and then we'll take your calls, is I understand what you're saying, Arcand. 2 years, you don't expect to keep Jaylen Brown anyway, and now he could be viewed as, damaged goods psychologically. He's over there shaking his head right now as we speak. The head is shaking, so he's already spun over this. Is it really more of a 2-year window that you get with Kevin Durant anyway? I mean, you're talking about 2 years one way, 2 years the other. And Kevin Durant's 33 years old. So what are you really gaining other than if you believe it's an automatic trip back to the NBA Finals, and this time you've got enough to get over the hump? And it's not just about the finals, it's also getting past Milwaukee.